friends. Welcome back to Good to Be Home. I'm your host, Paola, and I'm so glad you're here. I know it's been a little while since the last episode, and I want to talk about that today. If you've ever felt stuck, uninspired, or just tired, especially when the world outside you feel like it's crumbling more every single day, then this episode is for you. I guess on a deeper level, I'm making this episode for me because I'm that person. I'm the one that's feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit uninspired, and very, very tired. I want to talk about creative burnout and the weight of the world and how those two things have collided in my life. I want to talk about why creativity still matters, why your voice still matters, and why now more than ever we need dreamers, writers, artists, and storytellers to keep going. Even if we need to pause, even if we need to rest, we need to come back. So let me start off by being honest with you. I almost didn't record this podcast episode today. All I kept thinking is literally, who cares? With everything that's going on in the world when it comes to wars and injustice and politics and climate change, heartbreak or grief, what good is a podcast episode gonna do? What good does cozy thoughts or book chats or journal prompts do? And I was sitting with that for a little while. But then, something happened. I started remembering, my friends who kept on checking up on me and saying things like, hey, I missed the podcast, or hey, when's the next episode? And I even brought it up to my therapist. She reminded me that my voice matters, that creativity doesn't have to solve the world's problems to still be needed. And that hit me because I don't know, let me say that again. Creativity doesn't have to solve the world's problems to still be needed. So what if your voice helps someone breathe for a moment? What if your creativity creates pause, a crack of light? And that stayed with me. So I guess, let's name it the big elephant in the room. The world feels heavy. We are carrying so much right now, individually and collectively. The news alone makes you want to crawl into bed and never come out. We're burnt out, overstimulated, trying to hold on to hope while also doing our laundry and answering emails. And of course, scrolling, and scrolling. In that kind of world, it's easy to think that creativity is unnecessary, that dreaming is just a luxury, and that rest is a reward that we have to earn. But what if it's the opposite? What if dreaming is essential? What if creativity is a form of resistance? What if imagination is how we stay alive? And when I say creativity, I don't just mean painting or writing poetry. I mean the tiny ways that we bring beauty or curiosity into our days. Like cooking a meal with love, or taking a photo of the way that the light hits the window. Or like one of my friends does, creating a playlist that feels like summer, or a playlist that just feels like whatever you're feeling in that moment. Or even just texting a friend the exact meme that they needed at that moment. That's creativity. It's not just about perfection or production. It's about expression and connection. It's about joy and protest and healing. And sometimes we forget that. That totally changed my outlook on life. And I'll just read you the end of my review. But basically I said that the main character was incredibly relatable to me. I felt her heartbreak, I felt her anger. I felt the way that she changed throughout the book, from hopeless and numb to someone who wants to live again. And that transformation was quiet, honest, and beautiful. The book found me at an odd time in my life, and I know it's going to stay with me. But basically, if you're struggling with belonging, reinvention, or grief, this story, it might help you feel seen. And it's changed the way, like I said, that I view life. I want to notice more. I want to live more. There's so much beauty that's waiting to be found. And I feel like when we get to burnout, it clouds our judgment. It clouds our view of all the beauty that life has to offer. Let's talk a little bit about burnout. especially for those people who create for work or for community or even just for ourselves. Burnout isn't always about being too busy because, you think burnout and you think, hey, you're taking on too much. But sometimes it's about feeling like your work doesn't matter or like your voice doesn't matter. Sometimes burnout is about grief or loneliness or doubt. And for me, it's been all of that. I've doubted if this podcast still matters or if Good to Be Home is still worth making. I've had to deal with grieving different relationships and grieving different parts of myself that, I didn't get the opportunity to be. And I know that might sound silly, but doubt is a huge, factor in my life. And I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to be better, So for me, every time someone says, thank you for creating this, I remember that it does matter. I remember that Good to Be Home is worth making. I don't need to be producing constantly to be a creative person. Sometimes I just need to step away to be able to return with softness and with truth. And that's what I'm hoping that I'm doing today. And one of the most powerful things that we can do right now is to dream, even if the dream is small or even if it feels silly. Dreaming of a world that's safer and kinder and slower. Dreaming of a home filled with warmth and laughter, or of the art that you want to make, the people you want to reach, the joy that you want to feel. To dream is to remember that something else is possible, and in times like this, that's sacred. So if you're feeling like you have nothing left to give, I just want to say that you're not alone and you don't have to rush back. But I do hope you come back. Not because the world needs your content or what you put out, but because the world needs you. It needs your tenderness and your humor and your perspective, your way of seeing the world, your ability to make something out of nothing. Literally, your presence is a present, and I will always say that to my listeners and to myself. I'll make it one of my little affirmations because with my therapist, I have to do something called reframing, and she knows that I like affirmations. So one of mine is going to literally be your presence is a present. Because it's a gift to be able to age, to be able to wake up every morning. It's a gift to be able to, again, create something out of nothing. And nobody has a perspective like you do, and that's important. So whether it's in a podcast, a recipe, a playlist, or a conversation, or even the way you choose to decorate your home, it matters. And I hope that you keep showing up for yourself in big ways and in really small ones. So before we close today, here are a few ways to rekindle your creativity. Revisit old creations. So remind yourself of who you are, of what you've created before. Consume art that nourishes instead of drains. So again, that means no more doom scrolling. I feel like I mentioned that quite often in my episodes, and I think it's because it's such a constant in my life that I want to stop doing because it's literally not helpful. So that's a good reminder to rekindle your creativity. Journaling, even if it's just one sentence a day. Talk to someone who believes in you. Take a walk. And then finally, resting without guilt. It doesn't have to be something super deep to be powerful. So with all that to say, I hope this episode made sense. I am going to do my best to come back with softness and with truth and just be myself. And I just want to create things that are beautiful, and I want to experience life, and I want that for you too. I want that for my listeners. So thank you for listening, for being here, and for reminding me that this podcast matters. I hope this episode felt like a soft place to land. I hope you feel less alone, and I hope you remember that even in the heaviest seasons, there is still room to create. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're still becoming. So until next time, stay cozy, stay curious, and remember, it's good to be home.